wonderful, peaceful, beautiful teaching Muhammad is giving. This is not Ibn Kathir, and this is not Sahih al-Bukhari saying that. It is your Prophet himself. So I want to ask you, if we say, hey Christian, if you see a Muslim in the street, spit in his face, that will make you happy, or you will say what a disgusting religion? So look at yourself, Muslims. Go and study your book. And if you feel it's a shameful book, I advise you to burn it or do something about it. Because the problem in this world is Islam. Look what Islam doing. Nobody can go to airport. People, they have to wait for hours and hours and hours. Not because of the Hindus, not because of the Buddhas, not because of the Christian, not because even the atheists. Supposedly the atheists are the bad one. But you know what? It is not the atheists who they are killing everybody. It is the one who believe in God. Those who believe in God, supposedly, they should bring something good to humanity, not the blood and war and terrorism and fear. And you know what? Regarding flying an airplane, I advise the government to make special trips only for Muslims. So if they blow an airplane, they blow themselves. The airplane should be owned by a Muslim company, and everybody, even the pilot of the airplane, has to be a Muslim. And then you know what? Go and do whatever you like yourself. Stay away from us. You prove that your action don't fit with a human. We saw you, we saw your action, and we saw your prophet. And nobody can say to us that Muhammad was a bad Muslim. He split the women two parts just because she said a poetry about him.
Christian,
more than 80 years old. And then they will say to you, Islam is peace.
Christian, we got the point. Thank you. We got the point. Let him comment if he has a comment. Thank you very much for your call.
Yeah, I just like to add one very brief point connected with what Christian was saying, that Muhammad clearly had very intolerant policy towards unbelievers, forcing Christians and Jews to the narrow part of the road and so on. Think about what our Muslim friend said when he tried to defend the idea that Islam is peaceful and loving. He quoted two passages from the Hadiths saying that Muslims should be kind to one another. And all along we've been quoting passages saying Muslims are commanded to attack and fight and degrade and treat as inferiors unbelievers. And just to give a verse of the Quran that sums this up. So, Mike, if you're still listening, please read Surah 48:29 of the Quran. Let me read it to you. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and those who are with him are severe against disbelievers and merciful among themselves. Who are Muslims merciful among? Themselves, one another. Exactly the sort of passages that you brought up. Muslims are peaceful and loving towards other Muslims, but they are severe against disbelievers. They attack the disbelievers, they terrorize the disbelievers, they kill the disbelievers, they subjugate the disbelievers, they humiliate the disbelievers, they force the disbelievers to the narrow part of the road, they kick them out of their homes, they take their families captives. This is what Muslims do to unbelievers. This is not me making this up. This is your Quran. This is your Quran and your history. So when you say that Islam is peaceful, notice he assumes that when we say a religion is peaceful, it means you're peaceful among
everybody else.
Yeah, he assumes that you're peaceful among your fellow religious believers. That's not what we're talking about, my friend. No one's condemning Muslims for slaughtering each other all day, although they do that, and it's very bad. Our problem is that Muslims have utter contempt for unbelievers, and they don't care. They don't care. They wouldn't have a second thought about killing unbelievers. Why? That's what your religion teaches. That's what the Quran teaches. That's what the Hadith teach. My question to you is, if you really believe that religions should be peaceful, if you really believe in being peaceful and being loving, why don't you reject Islam? In other words, you have to make a decision. You can't say, I believe that religion should be peaceful and loving and tolerant towards everyone, and I believe in Islam. You can't maintain those positions consistently. You either have to say, yes, I like tolerance, but I'm just wrong because the Quran tells me to be severe against the unbelievers and to fight the unbelievers until they're paying me just for the right to survive. Or you have to say, no, I believe it is right to be loving and tolerant towards other people. Therefore, I reject the Quran. You can't maintain both. You have to pick one. You have to pick the Quran and intolerance, or you have to reject the Quran and believe in tolerance and love.
All right, we have Nadia. Good evening, Nadia. You're alive?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, and God be with you, both of you, and
Thank
I
you.
love your show, and this is one of my best shows ever.
Thank you, sister.
And I would like to comment on the first caller who said that there is some mistakes, scientific mistakes, that he agreed in Quran. And I would like to stick to the subject, actually, because when he said, Muhammad, that the earth is flat, this is something that is written by Muhammad and his followers, and God forbid it's never been written by God, because God cannot do such a mistake when he created his own earth. And the second thing I want to comment on those people who are calling and saying about the crusade and stuff like this, or all the battles, that's what happened, is during Muhammad times, I guess that it was a lot of battles done by Muhammad and his followers. And if they don't forget, please open the history and read about all the Christians, especially the Armenians. 4 million Armenians were slaughtered for no reason by the Muslims. So, come on. If you want to make the difference between the crusade and all the battles that you had during your history, don't make any comments. And thank you. Please, Brother David, stick to the subject and show us more about scientific mistakes in the Quran. God bless you, and we love you.
Right. Any comment before I go to the next caller?
Yeah, I would like to get back to the topic if we can, but there's always the next show. We can always continue on with science in the next show. I do want to agree that Muslims are completely inconsistent. This ties in with what Christian said. That Muslims will look at something like the Crusades and say, how horrible that you came and fought us. Well, think about this. Muslims conquered. Well, first they conquered Arabia. They slaughtered Jews. They took female captives. They raped their captives. This is what they did during the time of Muhammad. Then they took over the entire Middle East through violence, and they took over all of northern Africa through violence, and they worked their way up into Spain through violence. They were attacking Europe from the east and from the west, and throughout the Mediterranean, Muslim pirates were capturing ships, robbing them and so on, and Muslims had established pirate bases in the south of France and in Italy. They were attacking Europe on the east, on the west, and all along the Mediterranean Sea. And finally, people in Europe say, all right, now we're going to go on the offensive. We're going to go and fight the Muslims in the Middle East. And Muslims say, how dare you? How dare they what? How dare they defend themselves from being conquered? What we see in Islam is this constant idea of we can attack